When starting to make any film by yourself, particularly a more complicated or longer feature-length film, you need to be prepared to fail. And I'm not necessarily talking about failing the whole thing, like giving up halfway through or something like that. But you need to be prepared to fail at the different stages throughout the process. You need to prepare yourself to fail every time you go to set, and you need to build in time into your schedule for things to go wrong. You need to just kind of assume that things are going to go wrong, because they are. And the best times for me filming by myself out on location in the middle of the night and I'm tired and things go really well, it's actually a very magical and encouraging experience. But that can't be the assumption when you're going into this process. You have to plan for the worst and hope for the best. And if you're not planning for the worst, then it's going to be more difficult to tackle these challenges. It's going to be more difficult to face these obstacles when you reach them. You need to assume that this is going to be a very, very difficult thing for you to do, and you need to kind of act accordingly. That's not to say you're going to fail, but if you build that in to your plan, if you build that into your process, then it's not going to be surprising or shocking or even distracting when something goes wrong. It's going to just be expected. And that's what I would recommend to any filmmaker who's going to film a movie by themselves, is to hope for the best, but plan for the worst. When you're going out to make a film by yourself, I'm telling you right now, it's going to take longer than you ever thought possible. I remember when I first started filmmaking, kind of coming up with production schedules and laying out what the timeline for this project would look like. I had budgeted about 8 months to shoot Transmission Volume 1 and Transmission Volume 2. These two feature films back to back over the course of 8 months. And then to spend about a year in post-production to finish these two feature films. It's 2022 and I'm just now finishing Transmission Volume 1. That doesn't even include Transmission Volume 2. That is still in post-production. This project has so far taken me nearly 6 years to do. Now that's 2 feature films. So if you divide that by 2, it's like, maybe that's not so bad for like a no budget indie film. It's like 3 to 3.5 years, like per film is like not too bad. These are incredibly visual effects heavy projects with like hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of visual effects shots that I've done entirely by myself. But what I'm trying to illustrate is I set out with a totally unrealistic expectation to finish these things quickly, and that was absolutely not the case. I had a learning curve in doing a lot of these visual effects myself, and I had a learning curve in filming some very complicated scenes in over 64 unique locations. So I would advise any filmmaker looking to go out and make a feature film by themselves to really kind of manage your expectations and how long this is going to take you. And if you don't feel that you have the stamina, and if you don't feel you have what it takes to stick this out for potentially a number of years to be able to finish this film, and you're going to either get sick of it or give up quickly, then maybe you're not quite ready for the feature-length filmmaking process. And I would recommend trying to make a bunch of short films first and experiment with how long those take. And if you're able to kind of build upon those skills and upon that endurance and stamina, then feature-length filmmaking will seem a little bit easier than just diving right into the deep end and trying it, because you're really committing to this large kind of ambitious feature film project that may end up taking a lot longer than you ever thought imaginable. So be prepared for that, accept it at the beginning, and if you're okay with that and you have the drive and you're going to do whatever it takes to get to the end, no matter how long it takes and no matter what it takes from you as a person, then feature filmmaking might just be for you. And if you don't feel that you're quite ready for that process yet, then I would recommend sticking with making short films until you kind of build that stamina and build that endurance. Just like with a swimmer, no distant swimmer is going to like hop in a pool or dive into a lake or the ocean and start swimming miles at a time. You're going to want to start slow and manage your expectations and build those muscles and get to know what it feels like to kind of do shorter distances, and then you extend a little bit every single time. So if you've built those muscles making short films and you're ready for the feature filmmaking process, then that is awesome. But just know that it could potentially take longer than you ever imagined, and be okay with that. In my career of making films, I've never heard of anybody who finished their film early. Films take such a long time to produce and to finish. But when making a film by yourself, you really have to be okay with it taking longer than you thought it might take, especially if you have experience working with a crew and working with a team. Whatever your experience was on that type of project, I can guarantee you it's not going to be the same on this film that you're making by yourself. This is going to be a totally new experience for you, and you need to be okay with that. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.